Update. Boyfriend faked his death and called my reaction manipulative. Original story. Me and my boyfriend, I'm 21 female, he's 24 male. Together for 3 years. Live apart but have/had plans to rent together soon. Everything was perfect before this. Backstory. I have a history of self-harm. Have done since I was 11 years old. The last time I did it was 2 years ago. I have some brutal scars, but I'm doing much better and I'm in therapy. It's been a while since I even had a urge. My boyfriend had an ex before me who played mind games a lot. I feel it's relevant as he sometimes thinks I'm playing games when I'm not. For example, he was wary when we started dating that I would self-harm for attention or do it to punish him. His ex would threaten things like that if he ever left her. I don't/haven't ever done this, and despite my struggles, I'm pretty good with being patient and communicative. Until this, I considered us to have a really healthy relationship. Main story. Boyfriend went out drinking with his friends. I usually hear from him as he gets home, around 2 a.m., to let me know he is home and safe, but I didn't hear anything last night. I figured he just forgot. No biggie, so I went to bed as normal. I woke up at 11 a.m. to a bunch of missed calls from his mother. They live together. I called her back and she texted at 1 p.m. that she couldn't talk. I was kind of worried and told her as much. She said my boyfriend didn't get home last night and was in a crash and didn't make it. This was super weird to me since I get on well with his mom and would never expect to be told this via text. After some more texting, I fully believed my boyfriend had passed away that morning, and I totally shut down. The people I lived with were all out that day, so I was alone. Grief set in immediately, and I had an extremely bad relapse on my self-harm. At that point, I didn't even care. I was just hurting so much and my usual coping techniques just weren't doing their job. I listened to old voice notes of his, and even sent one telling him how much I loved him through the most unhinged sobbing I've ever done. Well, he arrived at my house 20 minutes later, saying it was a prank, since he got into a small bump and thought I'd get mad about him driving drunk, as well as about him mushing up his car a little. And him and his friends came up with this plan to just make me happy he was alright. So they took his mom's phone and the above happened. I obviously was thankful he wasn't dead, but I had a million other much stronger emotions. I was so angry he drove drunk. So angry he saw nothing wrong with it. So angry that he would lie about something so serious. It absolutely heartbroken that he let me sit in grief for over an hour until I sent a voice note that made him feel bad. Plus lots of other things I'm still struggling to articulate. He found out I harmed and flew off the handle. He said I punished him and turned a harmless prank into something much more serious and ruined the joke of it. He said I was guilting him for having fun, and now he can't trust I won't do it again. He even suggested I stay in hospital for my mental issues for a few weeks and crank up therapy. He said he can't leave me if he wants now, or else I'll act like this, just like his ex. I am beyond hurt. I probably should look into therapy if I'm still resorting to it, I admit. But this wasn't an everyday bout of anxiety or even breakup. I thought he died. I'm also very aware that his actions were massively awful and he is being so manipulative in the aftermath. How is it a punishment if I thought he was dead? I absolutely would not react like this if he just broke up with me, but I never said or hinted at that. Not really sure what to do now. My gut tells me to leave him over this, but I'm so unsure. Now for the top advice before reading the update. What a sick joke. You need to break things off ASAP. What a cruel thing to do. I could never even be friends with someone who did this. The worst part is that he did it to get away from the consequences of drinking and driving. He willingly and purposely hurt you to ease the repercussions of his actions. Let that sink in. Dump him, please. He's a piece of trash. He even took his mom's phone to make it look like she was in on it. That takes it to a whole new level of cruelty. OP, I would dump him immediately and tell his mom what he did. Make sure to actually talk to her so you know she actually knows what he did. Please listen to your gut. This is beyond horrible behavior, not a harmless prank. You deserve to be with someone who has compassion and respect for you. If anything, the boyfriend needs therapy. He was dead. You can't punish the dead. As it stands, if you don't need therapy before, having this BS pulled on you unleashed all sorts of things in your head, which required some working through. They are pranks, and they are pranks completely undeserving of the term. You weren't laughing before or after the revelation. In what world was this supposed to make you feel better? Go with your gut. Be done. There's no forgetting he did this. There's no forgetting how he made you feel. No decent partner does this. That wasn't a prank he pulled. It was a mind game with actual repercussions that he refuses to own. Like the above comment says, no decent partner does this. He is the one who needs help if he thinks his actions are in any way appropriate. Additionally, if he is drunk driving with friends who are encouraging this, then his overall judgment is severely impaired on more than one front. OP, be done with him. You've already mourned who you thought he was. Now celebrate getting away from who he showed himself to really be. Staying with him is only going to drag you back down and away from the strong recovery progress you'd made. Stay strong. Your boyfriend is a horrible person. What he did shows deep character flaws. The drunk driving is bad enough, the more so because he knew it was wrong and chose to do it anyway. But the harmless prank? That's just mean. So disrespectful and inconsiderate, made all the more so by your personal history. And speaking of the accident, did he leave the scene of an accident while he was driving drunk? Or was he late getting home because he got a DUI? He bumped into a fence post, so luckily nobody was injured. But the potential was there as well as the carelessness. I don't know if he was late or not, honestly. I think he planned this almost immediately, and not texting me all night is part of it. And now for the update. Long story short, I broke up with him for the following reasons. Drunk driving, endangering himself and others. Took his mother's phone and made me think it was her. Deception. Telling me he was dead. Deception/extreme emotional stress. Letting me think that for hours. I could list every negative trait for that one. Borderline sociopathic behavior. Not being sorry for any of these things. Telling me I'm too sensitive. Invalidation, shifting blame. Being mad at me for relapsing. Unsupportive, uncaring, unkind. I still won't blame him for the relapse though, as many people here wanted me to. That is on me and I'm still going to therapy regularly for that. So, for those interested, I took a few days to myself. I did speak over the phone to his mom, and she was incredibly apologetic on his behalf. I taught her how to put a passcode on her phone. After that, we met up and I outlined the things I listed above. He seemed apologetic and sincere about all of them and listened to me well. Unfortunately, he didn't quite understand that being apologetic wouldn't get me to change my mind in ending the relationship. He got annoyed at me for ending it, and again told me I was dramatic and other invalidating arguments. Oh well, I said what I needed to say, and that's enough closure for me. Told me I was dramatic. The guy who faked his own death calls you dramatic. You couldn't hold a candle to this guy to draw mistakes. You made the right decision to dump him. Well, I'm glad you didn't buy the fake I'm sorry act. It's so often used by really manipulative people to convince you they have changed. And I'm glad you saw right through that BS. Good on you. Life is too short wasting time in relationships like this. Agreed. As one of the lovesick puppies that kept going back to awful relationships because he was sorry and wouldn't ever do it again. I don't believe I'm sorry anymore. Not for that. He sounds like a psychopath. 100%. So glad Opie has been firm on this decision. The guy's terrifying with his callousness. Nah, psychopaths don't know why what they're doing is wrong. Sociopaths know and do it anyways. My oldest friend, we met when we were 14 and we are going to our 40s now. He faked his death to get back at me. He's an untreated schizophrenic with frequent bouts of paranoia. And over the years, I could recognize the cycles and signs and adjust accordingly. I've been verbally attacked many times and tempted into fights that I refuse to participate in. We've always come through the other side though, you know. I never thought he would fake his death. There's no way he would ever take his antics that far. But that is exactly what he did. His aunt messaged me while I was on vacation from his phone, stating that he was found mauled to death by a bear. Long story short, 6 months went by and the story wasn't adding up. There were so many questions that didn't have answers, timelines that weren't adding up, this aunt that I had never heard of. I'm an ecologist who works in national parks here and there, and I kept abreast of bear attacks. None for him. No obituary shared by friends or family. You see where I'm going with this. He was estranged from his family for his refusal to get medicated, and I truly believe that they had him offed, or that it was offed by someone, and they were trying to hide it. I became investigative and paranoid and distraught. I took a hiatus from university in my senior year, went to therapy, quit my job, because I was so depressed and angry that this injustice took place, and his family didn't seem to care at all about his disappearance. 1 year went by and 1.5 years. I was beginning to recover myself when I get a text from his old phone number. I called it immediately because I thought someone was playing a cruel joke, and he answered. I'm trying to keep this short, so I'll skip what transpired mostly. But a key part was that he claimed to be the victim, asking me if I learned my lesson for not answering his phone calls while I was on vacation, gaslighting me into believing all of his issues were my fault because I never dated him, even though all the codes in the universe told him that we were soulmates. All that progress I did in that year and a half disappeared within that 10-minute call. It really screwed me up. I sympathize. I empathize. I'm sorry that you had to experience that. Cut the toxicity out of your life. Be strong for yourself. Move on. I lost my oldest friend that day, but truly, he wasn't a friend at all. Next story. I'm 30 female disabled and my partner, 33 male, punishes me by withholding help. We've been together for 13 years. We've lived together for 10. I'm disabled. I don't want to get into how, but I can't do most things for myself without any help. I can hardly walk in a straight line or without stumbling. I have no muscle or strength in my arms. My life involves never going outside except for doctor appointments and staying in bed most of the time. Sometimes I have to put my phone down because it's too heavy. I always have a headache and nausea. Always. We have so many arguments, and they're usually over small things. A lot of them are about him helping me. He doesn't refuse, but he will throw such a tantrum about things like taking the dog out or killing a bug flying around because I ask him to. For example, I'm scared to ask for anything. I know I'll hear a sigh, feet stomping, and a horrible remark. If my partner is cleaning something and I point out a missed spot, I get, "Do you want to do it?" Oh wait, I don't think it's fair. I'd do it if I could. I can't open bottles on my own. I can sometimes, but it'll take a long time and I'm tired afterwards. Just now I asked for some water and he sighed and got it for me. We just had an argument regarding finances, so he slammed it down and left the room. I noticed it was still sealed and closed. It seems like such a dumb thing to complain about, but he always opens bottles for me even if I don't ask. Except when he's mad. Same with opening doors for me. Going to the store to get something I need. Sometimes he won't even make us anything to eat because he's mad at me. I hear "do it yourself" in a smug voice at least once a month. You love hearing yourself talk, is the response when I try to talk about it. Is this abuse? What can I do? He's all I have, and I'm literally and figuratively trapped. Edit. I made it sound like I do nothing, but I do get up and help sometimes anyway, even if it hurts me. He's understanding and kind on good days. One wrong move for me, and it goes from 0 to 100 on a bad day though. Sounds like caretaker fatigue. Taking care of myself is enough work, but taking care of someone else for 10 years sounds rough. Not that it makes what is doing okay. It sounds like you're walking on eggshells. If leaving isn't an option, maybe there are things you could do to improve your situation. If you need something at the store, could you order it online instead? Same with food. Maybe order in. A dog is a lot of work too, and I hate to even suggest it, but maybe look into rehoming it? That could help avoid more arguments about cleaning or taking the dog out. There are plastic grippers too that might help you open water bottles. Could you get yourself a food tray to use in bed to hold your phone? Counseling for the two of you would probably be a good idea. Other people mentioned in home care, which would probably be optimal in this situation, but I'm sure that's costly. Wishing you the best. This. I took care of a loved one when their health declined. I started getting snippy with them over little things. For example, they asked for a fork while I was literally getting one for them, and I felt so upset. Like, give me a second before asking. It blew up into something bigger than it needed to be because I was doing it all alone. I wish I had taken more time to myself to cope, but even showering myself was mentally exhausting after a while. I was depressed and going through the motions. I'm sorry he is speaking to you that way. Sounds like this is really difficult for both of you, and it is not your fault. I cannot imagine how difficult it must have been for you adjusting to life with a disability. And now your husband is burnt out and taking it out on you. Hopefully get some help for his burnt out and things turn around for you both. I apologize, and I don't mean this rudely by any means, but what is your partner getting out of your relationship? Is there even a relationship there, or has it maybe gone toward more of a caretaker type situation? In the best of circumstances and people with the best of intentions get worn down caring for family members or loved ones day in and day out. It's a lot, more than a lot of people realize. OP, you need home health, it sounds like, and your partner needs to attend some anger management classes, along with some therapy sessions. The therapy would probably be beneficial to you as well. There definitely needs to be changes made. It sounds pretty toxic and not healthy. If we aren't fighting, we fight several times a month, then we have a good relationship, seemingly. People who don't know our problems think we're a perfect couple, which just makes me sad, to be honest. We hang out all the time, be intimate, cuddle, the usual. It's just that most days he has to help me. Not like all day long, but many times a day. I know it's hard for him. I just wish he wouldn't punish or scream at me. Now for the last story. My 23 female boyfriend, 24 male, put me down after I jokingly referred to a co-worker as a work husband. So I talked to my boyfriend about work a lot like most people do, and I talk about my co-workers a lot. I frequently mention this guy, who I have no feelings for by the way, who's one of my best friends at work in addition to many other friends. My boyfriend joked about how we talk a lot, and I teased him and said he was like my work husband. My boyfriend paused for a moment, then said that a lot of guys aren't into the fact that I don't have that high libido, and that I was willing to overlook it unlike most men, and added, just let me know. It felt oddly personal, but at the same time maybe I hurt his feelings when I referred to the guy as my work husband. What do you think of this? Now for the advice. While his response leaves a lot to be desired, in his defense, you are throwing out a couple of signs that maybe you do in fact have a crush on this co-worker, and your joke only added another. Yup. Boyfriend's response wasn't called for, but so was calling someone else your work husband. Regardless of how it was meant, I feel like most people can agree that it's throwing out signals that you have feelings for this person, OP. Sounds like both of you have behaviors to apologize for. She totally does. You would never use that term in any other context. How many stories here about cheating start with my work blank? He interprets husband as being a more permanent, established relationship than boyfriend. You just downgraded him in comparison to your work colleague. Absolutely. The idea of a work husband is extremely disrespectful. Boyfriend probably should have responded with, I guess you don't need a boyfriend then. He could have gotten his warning shot in without attacking a potential insecurity.